everybody. My name is Artur Brzgalov. I'm Place Branding Manager at Brand Finance. We have heard 3 amazing panels earlier today about investment, trade, and talent, and I'm honored to make this introduction to the next panel on tourism. As you could see from our analysis, we believe that there is a strong association between tourism and economic segments. In particular, tourism receipts. So this line is quite similar to the other ones you have seen previously. And the key question is, how do DMOs and tourism ministries end up on the top, in the right-hand corner of this line? And then obvious advice will be to improve your soft power. But it's not very useful advice, so we go one step further and identify specific attributes that are important in driving tourism. Might not be a surprise to many. A great place to visit is an obvious one, and it has the most importance. But there are some other ones as well. So, for example, a strong and stable economy, products and brand the world loves, and easy to do business in and with are among top attributes that drive recommendation to visit. So that tells us that it's not only about history and culture, it's also about economic development. I would like also to point out to a country being politically stable and well-governed, as well as have good international relations in order to improve its recommendation to visit, essentially. This is a key takeaway for DMOs and agencies, tourism agencies. If you would like to improve your tourist numbers and your tourism receipts, those are the key attributes you should be targeting in your information campaigns, advertisements, etc. And on that note, if we could play a video on the best country to visit. Thank you.
Congratulations to Italy for winning this award. And without further ado, we can hand over to start the panel with Florian and his guests. Please do come on stage.
Excellent. And thank you everyone for joining us at the second last session of the day. So almost over, and we've learned so much already today. And let me start by sharing a very quick story. Back in 2015, I had a conversation with Luigi Caprini, who's the chair of the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. And he mentioned something that has stayed with me ever since. He said, you know, tourism is pretty much the sunny side of countries. It allows them to showcase their best parts, nature, culture, food, music, very much unlike the dark side of conflicts and war. And this notion really made me click. What is the connection, you know, between soft power and tourism? And at the Place Brand Observer, we think a lot about soft power, country reputation, but also how to make tourism better. And regenerative tourism is the term we hear now. You know, the panel is called Moving Beyond Sustainability, so it is about regenerative tourism. And let me just share a couple of quotes from a panel with sustainable tourism experts that we had 2 years ago over at the Sustainability Leaders United initiative. To give you an idea, what are we actually talking about when we say regenerative tourism? So here we have Glenn Jampol, who is a successful entrepreneur in Costa Rica. And he said, sustaining is no longer an option. Now it must be about renewal. Regenerative tourism includes considerations of renewal and education, interpretation, and proactive commitment. And over in India, we have Joanna van Gruijsen, who runs an award-winning eco-lodge. And she said, regenerative tourism looks, beyond sustainability. It recognizes that we have gone too far in damaging the planet and aspires to give back. It is a way of seeing tourism as a living system within a wider carpet of life. So this is where our focus should currently be. And over in the Caribbean, we have James Crockett, who is an entrepreneur as well, a sail tour business operator. He said, regenerative tourism is, to my mind, the next evolution. It requires that tourism helps to restore habitat, ecosystems, cultures to a former healthier state. So it's the latest and most comprehensive attempt to make tourism as transformative in delivering net benefits to a destination as possible. And this notion of evolution is something I found quite interesting. And this is also something echoed by Vicky Smith, who's one of the leading voices here in the UK on sustainable tourism. And she also shared this thing about evolution. Regenerative tourism not only creates positive change, but creates conditions for renewal, revitalization, and onward evolution. So you might be thinking, okay, this sounds all very nice in theory, but how on earth are we going to do it in practice, right? And what are the challenges and hurdles that we are facing, or that you are facing, the practitioners, actually, those who have to implement it? And but also, what are the success stories that we might be able to follow? And what are the larger trends and developments that might impact our work? So it's great to have this fantastic panel here today to talk about these questions, and we'll make sure that there's a bit of time afterwards as well to ask questions from the audience. So we have Dorshi, of course, who leads the Tourism Authority of Bhutan. We have Noor, who is the founder, you can say, right? The
founder coordinator, basically.
The mother of the Nation Branding Office of Turkey.
Hope so.
And of course, we have Mr. Brand Africa, Tebe Kalafé.
Thank you.
And I don't think I need this anymore. So the first question I would like to ask you, and I might start with Dorshi, is really, to illustrate the connection between regenerative tourism and soft power. So if tourism has the ability, to be the sunny side of a country, how can we use this in terms of soft power benefits? And the other way around, how can we use a country's soft power to support its regenerative tourism development back home? So, Bhutan is a very well-known example in both the areas of soft power and regenerative tourism development.
Thank you, Florian. And following the footsteps of David Downs, Kuzu Zangpola, which means in our language, wish you all very good health. Also like to thank Brand Finance for having us this time in this big summit, and also for the first time, Bhutan is also now being listed under this soft power global soft power index, and there actually we are ranked at 123rd as of this year, but despite that, I just wanted to share that the keywords of this summit, and particularly this session, which are actually tourism, the regenerative, then soft power, seems to be quite familiar for me, actually. So I was feeling, initially I was feeling a bit nervous, but now after having, yesterday and today, I was feeling a bit comfortable, and mainly because the reason is because for Bhutan, for us, what we have been doing so far for the last 50 years, of our so-called the modern development, we have been doing more or less, of course, so far, the common term that we have been using is sustainable. But of course, now we are talking about regenerative in this particular session. And I can easily say that our words sustainability can be easily replaced by regenerative because of the way that how we do our things in Bhutan. And this is mainly because of our development philosophy, which I think is now not really, I mean, most people seem to know. Now, when we talk about Bhutan, they just refer to our gross national happiness, which is a development philosophy. And that philosophy basically is underlying the sustainability agenda, actually. And there we are talking about a middle path kind of a development, wherein we are giving an emphasis, prioritize the balanced development pursuits of societal, economic, environmental, and cultural. So these are the four dimensions, 4 pillars, what we call. And also the fact is that while gross national happiness, it might sound a bit of an art and abstract, but then I just wanted to convince you all it is not. It has already become a science, and we actually do measure how our development initiatives are doing by using almost like 9 domains we have, and then further supported by 33 indicators. So it is a science, and then that, you know, basically when you put into a tourism context, and this is being manifested in what we again call as a kind of a slogan, what we call as, I think Florian has touched, what we're saying is high value, low volume tourism. So high value, low volume tourism, in a very layman term, basically you are referring to a sustainable tourism. And now, again, to explain a little bit, I mean, the high value, low volume tourism is very generative, regenerative in its objective, intent, and also in practice. Now, what we have been pursuing so far is, even in the tourism, we are not just pursuing, while economy is important, tourism plays a very important role in our economic development as a revenue earner, that's for true, for sure. But at the same time, we are very mindful. We are saying we should not commercialize tourism too much. We should not be, you know, distracted that then at the cost of everything else. I think we just want to pursue arrivals. We just want to pursue revenue. So we are also not doing this. So it's, as I said, it's being influenced by the balanced development approach of guided by gross national happiness. So yes, I'll just end my this question by just sharing with you all now what I meant that we have been practicing regenerative development initiatives so far. Few examples, I mean, as a proof, as an evidence, you know, as a result of that initiative, or it says that actually. For example, I mean, besides the development philosophy of GNH, gross national happiness, and our tourism policy of high value, low volume, besides these two, our constitution, I mean, people say, I remain to be corrected, but they say that our constitution is the only constitution that actually mandates a country to have its country area a minimum of 60% under forest cover. And is a very kind of a news actually for is that Bhutan's forest cover has been increasing. It was actually 53.7% in 1990, and today it is 71.5%. So regeneration, basically, the forest cover has increased, and then also very, I mean, great news actually for the biodiversity people. The tiger population has been increasing. Since 2015, around 27% increase was there in terms of the tiger population in Bhutan, and which was coincidentally also covered last year by BBC, this astounding achievement. And also, Bhutan actually has the highest unclimbed mountain in the world at a height of 7,570 meters. And this is just because of our policy, environmental policy. And yes, so basically maybe I'll stop here for now, and thank you.
Do you have the feeling, before we move over to Turkey, which is of course a great example of soft power in the region and also sustainable tourism development right now, but Bhutan, you know, the whole happiness topic, did it give you, I suppose it gave you a lot of soft power around the world, it made you known for it, and do you have the feeling that this helps you to now develop the tourism within the country regeneratively in terms of having, you know, investment coming in, So this is also the question, you know,
Yes.
how can you link the soft power you have or the reputation your country has built simply by following this philosophy? Does it actually help you now when it's really about, you know, making it happen? Do you have any?
No, definitely. I mean, so as I said, like GNH has been one of our key element in our soft power. Actually, that has contributed. But of course, later on, I think I'll touch upon our new brand that we have, which is also going to contribute towards our soft power. So that has definitely helped in even attracting more tourism, and we really look up to that actually. Even, yes.
Excellent. And we'll get back to Bhutan, of course, with later questions. But moving on to Nur, I mean, Turkey has such a strong soft power position within the region and also is doing so much in terms of sustainable tourism development. As director of the Nation Branding Office, how important is this link for you? Now, how important is what the country is doing in terms of sustainable tourism or regenerative development for the Nation brand part or the soft power part?
Thanks, Florian. Thanks for having us, the whole brand finance team. I thank you on behalf of my government as well and on behalf of my team. As you mentioned, Florian, the tourism is the sunny side of the soft power. We are already, as Turkey, the fourth most visited country around the world and worldwide, and probably we ended up last year with about 50 million visitors to Turkey. So number sells something, of course, but these notions of sustainability and beyond sustainability, so this is our topic today, regeneration, is I have to say, is a new concept for Turkey as well as many other countries. But Bhutan has a short but very deep experience on that. We've been hearing from Dorji in last last 2 days. So before proceeding to the concept of regenerative tourism, what soft power means for Turkey. So we have to draw the framework first for what the soft power means to Turkey and Turkish people. And what makes Turkey as powerful in soft power, as you mentioned, in the region and in global scale, and the rising performance of Turkey in many fields, as we have seen and observing. So first of all, Turkey's commitment to advancing collective peace of the world and a very constructive approach to the diplomacy. I will give an example in a recent date, actually. In last decade, we've been hosting 12 million Syrian refugees. I mean, in last 12 years, we've been more than 4 million Syrian refugees in our country. And Turkey's contribution to the regional peace in the last decades has had a very positive image, for sure, in the international arena. And to maintain world peace and resolving crises are not spontaneous or one-time initiatives for Turkey. Not just for today, and not for only Turkish people or for the region, but the results of humanitarian philosophy. And so we brought this vision in not just only in tourism. That's what I'm trying to say. It's humanitarian philosophy, which also, I mean, inspires from regenerative philosophy at this point. So with this broad vision in mind, we've been providing, again, after COVID-19 pandemic, during the pandemic, actually, we have 160 countries. So this is giving back issue for Turkish people. It's not a governmental mandating policy or any other international law issue. This comes from the hearts. And if the soft power means winning the hearts and minds, so we are just winning the hearts and minds with our hearts. The notions comes from our hearts. So 160 countries helped, and also just recent history, more than 30 million tons of grain through Black Sea during the Russia-Ukraine war has shipped because of Turkey's efforts in diplomacy. So, as the real-life examples from our diplomatic efforts show, basic necessities of life are interconnected with soft power, as well as the soft power of one's country. So the realities and perceptions are different. We see brand finance indexes, the most visited country or most, lovable country indexes are changing and depends on the perceptions, but those are the realities that I'm actually trying to give the facts. So that the multilateralism and will for collaboration have been always key for Turkey in many fields of the politics and many it's in a social level, international level. So that collaboration is the key here. The whole stakeholders, let's say in international politics, your allies or your adversaries, but you have to find a solution to give it back to the world, sustainable future for the collective goodness. Yeah. So, I will cut it here if you like, but I'm trying to just draft the philosophy of regeneration, not only apply to the tourism sector.
It's beyond tourism.
Yes, beyond tourism.
Of course, tourism is just one part of the ecosystem or the life system, like was said on the slides. You have 50 million visitors per year. Dorje, you dream of that? How many do you have?
50, yeah. Be proud of it.
This is a lot, and then you think about sustainability. How on earth are you going to make this sustainable?
Yeah.
And you have all the developments. Turkey has been a popular destination for 50 years, 40 years at least. So you have a lot of developments of buildings that are already there. A lot of infrastructure that is not something that you can build now with the latest technology and make it environmentally friendly and climate positive and whatever else. So this is a huge challenge, but I heard that you work with the Global Sustainable Tourism Council now on a national country level to really, there's always the question, does it come from bottom up or up down?
Yeah, we do have some slides from, as you say, Global Sustainable Tourism
Comes
Council.
later, right? Yeah.
Here we already launched our program, so we strongly believe we should step up to the regeneration from here. So we have already, again, applied and to prepare a sustainable tourism program now. Already we have currently number of facilities in Turkey is almost 800 and is going up. And at this point, in this context, we set up a set of a criteria that includes basic requirements for regenerative tourism, such as destination engagement, community support.
Shall we go back to this in the next question?
Sure.
So Tebe has a chance to. Sure. Tebe, you're Mr. Brand Africa, so you have to represent, last time I counted, I think it was 54 countries.
It's not changing. Are you trying to change it? You know something I don't?
No, we only have half an hour left, so we're not going to change this now. Do you have any examples from Africa where you could witness, either a destination, sustainable tourism development, aiding or supporting its soft power, like on a country or regional level, or the other way around, where you saw, okay, there are countries that have soft power within Africa or beyond, and that this has helped them, make regenerative development happen on the ground?
First, if I do the survey, I'll do it from Africa up, and we'll be on the top of the list in one of the African countries, because you see now Italy has taken up all the space there, and I don't think they're as great as we are as an African. But I think in many ways it illustrates the power of media as well. If you look at the continent, for example, we don't have a lot of Pan-African media that tells the African story. And as a result, that's why the continent, for example, only accounts for 5% of the total tourism in the world, whereas we account for 17% or so of the world's population. So the story of Africa, when it comes to soft power, it's a story of potential. It's a story of an untold, it's an untold or undertold story of what we do and can do for the continent. I mean, if you look at a country, for example, as small as Rwanda, which is what, 15 million people, that country has been able, within the continent at least, to reposition itself as the meeting place of the continent, which is where most of the consequential decisions around the continent have been taking place, whether it's issues like Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement, or whether it's issues about the Africa Passport. So so even a country as small as Rwanda understands the soft power of how using business tourism, for example, as an opportunity to position not just Rwanda, but also tell a greater story of the continent. Or if you look at a country like Ghana, for example, which about 5 or so many years ago initiated what you call the Year of Return. And as a result of that initiative of the Year of Return, where they had where they issued a global call to Africans anywhere else in the world who come from Ghana to come back home, not to come resettle, but to come back and bring back the story of what Ghanaians are doing everywhere else in the world. So to me, those are some of the two incredible examples of how we use our soft power. Of course, when it comes to we don't have the problems that Turkey have with 50 million people. So over-tourism has never been our problem.
Numbers is really a thing, right?
What you have as a problem, what we have the opportunity in the continent, because from both a nature and a nurture, we're probably the most incredibly endowed continent in the world. All 55 countries, you can find something incredibly beautiful that can contribute to the global story of Africa.
So you're trying to have more visitors. You're probably quite happy with your 50 million? Okay, you also...
I'll remain neutral. So everything is about money, of course, or the counts. Yeah. So the quality and the good for all, always at the first.
And Dorshi is quite happy to, keep the high value and the low volume.
Very mindful.
Very mindful.
What number we are getting. Yes.
I think you're lucky that you have one international airport, I think, right?
Yes.
So not...
And it's not so much about wanting more tourists to come to the countries, but it's understanding that whenever any tourists come to your country, they take a good story of the country with you and becomes part of the global ambassadors of your country and your continent. And I think that's how we sort of look at it. And anybody who's ever come to Africa has told that story. I mean, the idea that Out of Africa was written about the experience out of Kenya. The story about Hotel Rwanda, written about the experience, the experience of Rwanda in '94. Of course, what we wish for as Africans, and what we are working towards as Africans, is to tell those stories ourselves, and not to have the story of the continent told from outside, because we are the experts. We understand the continent better than anybody else, and that's always been our challenge. That when it comes to soft power, our power has always, if you will, we are not telling our story ourselves. So in many ways, it means that we cannot leverage our power, our soft power, and rather at the mercy of quote-unquote outsiders.
That links back to the discussion we had this morning about the importance of communication and media. And of course, I mean, there are some representation issues there, political issues always with media. And but let's move on to the next question. And Noor, I would like to ask you, what are the key challenges and barriers that might prevent a country's soft power from benefiting its regenerative tourism development, or vice versa?
Yeah,
like the practical ones.
Yeah, the functioning, actually, functionality. So everything's, it's good enough on the books or in policies, but it needs to be realistically applied and embraced by the whole stakeholders in a societal level. So public needs to be informed at the first stage properly to build the trust. in regeneration. For example, we'll show, maybe we have a time to show the Cappadocia example, all the local people around the Cappadocia area, so which is one of the most actually attractive tourism destination in Turkey, with the balloons and the fairy tales.
I know you're going to show a video as an answer of one of the questions.
Yes.
You just tell the
sure.
technicians to.
Yeah. So the thing is that if you build the trust in a local level, people more, inspired and inspired to establish the regenerative mentality on tourism. So they reflect their investments, they reflect their, hospitality and education. As well at all levels is fundamental requirement to reach these regenerative goals in the field, in tourism especially. So there is 360-degree holistic approach needed, as in many fields again, and to ensure public engagement and harmony, creating a well-functioning process. And they are crucial, and there is more to tackle the hurdles in the way of regeneration tourism, which we all of us will agree on, the natural disasters, for example. So
I was about to ask you about that because,
yes.
of course, talking about challenges, it
Yes.
doesn't get larger as a challenge than an earthquake like the one you experienced.
Yeah, again, to overcome with these challenges, natural disasters, so this is not human-made. Again, it's this whole harmony needed at the societal level and local level. And maybe another challenge is greenwashing. So it's like perceptional thing where we are seeing, of course, not in our country, in every country tend to go for greenwashing to boost their soft power. It feels very trendy and very fancy field. So eco-friendly, sustainable, and locally sourced are frequently used to deceive customers at this point. So again, to be genuine and to be willing to give back to the nature and people and collective society of the world, and those are the core elements to be followed, I think. So to counter these problems caused by this type of cosmetic tricks, substantial, transparent, and long-term investments are necessary. And again, unforeseen events like global pandemic, again, like we had been through earthquakes last year. It was a century's disaster, and we are very thankful to the global community. We give and we get back from the global community.
It's a two-way street. Soft power,
yes,
right.
from more than almost 150 countries just send help to Turkey during the earthquake. So global pandemic, again, and other global pandemics, again, and famines are other of course, barriers, not only for regenerative tourism, also in many sense. And we overcame this disaster because of these touristic centers. 11 cities at the same time have had this earthquake. And among them, Gaziantep, Hatay, Adana, southeastern part of Turkey, gastronomic, very famously known around the world. Maybe many of you had been tried, but as recovery and revival efforts ongoing, our tourism sector aims to reach pre-disaster level next year.
Yeah, that's impressive, isn't it?
But because of the whole harmony in the local and national level that we are trying to follow.
If I may move on to Bhutan, natural disasters, of course, you will also have your landslides, probably like living in Switzerland myself, the kind of natural disasters you get there. Would you say this is one key challenge?
Definitely yes, but then I would say that more than such a tangible kind of a reason like the natural disaster, especially to promote regenerative or sustainable tourism, based on our experience, and could be relevant to other countries also. I mean, I have few points. Like, for example, when you talk about regenerative, I think in Bhutanese experience, we are talking about regulation. So we need to have a strong regulations to put in place so that people practice, regenerative tourism, both as a host and also as a visitor. So that is one. So regulation is always, we know that is very difficult to achieve. The other one is the immediate versus the long-term interest. Now, when you talk about regenerative or sustainable tourism, we are really talking about long-term. We are not just talking about immediate economic returns. We are talking about a long-term interest. We are talking for the future generations, the interest of safeguarding the future. So therefore, again, we know most of us, I think we would rather choose the immediate revenue economic returns. So that seems to be another big challenge, I would say. The third one would be like very specific to Bhutan. Now, our tourism policy is very regenerative. It's sustainable-based tourism, basically high value, low volume. Now, what has happened is, besides our own people, I mean, we also have a lot of challenges. Our own industry people also, we feel that maybe we should be a little bit more, not really sustainable. I mean, in the interest of the short-term gains. But our policy says no. In the interest of not only for Bhutan's future, but even for the planet itself. So therefore, we have been actually already critiquing our tourism policy. We hear, people telling us that, oh, your tourism policy, because of sustainable development fee, I mean, which is one of the biggest, main strategy, how we implement our high value, low volume. We, at this point in time, our country has been labeled as paying the highest tourism levy. Of course, other countries also pay, but we started when we reopened our tourism after 2.5 years due to COVID in September last year. We started to reopen by increasing our tourism levy, which we call as a sustainable development fee at the rate of $200 per person per day, so which is very high. But of course, now presently, because of so many other inevitable reasons, we have discounted it for next till 2027 to 150% discount. So therefore, we are being critiqued as, oh, Bhutan's tourism policy is very elitist, and which actually, okay, maybe we would, even though we don't like to accept this, but then since if you are being told this, okay, I mean, the only thing that we can say is we are doing this not only for Bhutan, we are doing this for the world, actually, for the planet Earth. So yeah, so these are some of the major challenges. And then I was also going to say that now in terms of the branding and the soft power, one question that I had, actually, maybe I will ask Florian, is when you talk about soft power and place branding, the nation branding, we are mostly talking about external. No, we are not talking about the external. But I think the Great Britain, the Great campaign and our Bhutan Believe campaign, I see some similarity, because I'm not so sure about Great Britain, the Great campaign of UK. But in Bhutan's case, the new brand, Bhutan Believe, it is not only for the external, it is also internal, actually. So we are looking inward, and especially now at this point in time, a lot of changes are happening because of the COVID. We did a lot of rethinking. So the nation is undergoing a major transformation. Again, later on, I'll share something on that. But so what we are saying is, the belief is, while it is for external, it is for visitors, it is for the world to, as our soft power. But at the same time, we are also using belief for Bhutanese people, for us to come together, to foster solidarity, to foster, the spirit of one family and one vision, and one country. So therefore, especially when you have set such an ambitious target as a part of the national transformation, we thought this was really necessary. So therefore, when we developed this nation brand, new brand for our country, Bhutan Believe, we had these two things in mind. Of course, one is for the soft power, one is for the external. At the same time, this is very much for our own Bhutanese. So this is, I don't know whether you want to
I'm very happy that you mentioned it. It's often overlooked that, especially nation branding, tends to have an inward focus, actually. You're working with identity, with people feeling happy about that they are from a specific country. And place or country branding often looks outward and is very often misunderstood, you know, country marketing, place marketing, branding. So there are some differences in these concepts.
Okay.
And one question I had before we go to you, in terms of challenges, I mean, you have a new prime minister coming in just now.
Yes.
Would you, and this is the question I will then give you for the African context as well, would you consider this a key challenge in making it all work, you know, governments changing like every 3, 4, 5 years? Maybe not so much in Bhutan, right? Because it came from the king and it's sort of supported by the whole society, right?
Yeah, not really. I think Bhutan has a unique kind of a situation wherein we have a democracy, is a constitutional democratic governance, wherein every 5 years we also have elections. We have a multi-party elections, and so we have this time we have a repeat. Not the immediate past, but these were in the government the term before. So now they are back in the country. But having said this, I think what you have raised is not really an issue, because while we are a democratic, but at the same time, we always look up to our golden throne, His Majesty the King, as our ultimate kind of a leader. So therefore, in a way, it happens so harmoniously. There's not much of an issue. So some of the policies that we pursue are actually grounded, and even in the change of government, there will be no change. And in fact, I think, I just remembered the earlier panel, they were talking about, I think especially from New Zealand, they do planning for 500 years. And that's what exactly happening in our country also. Very recently, we have actually started a new vision called the Mindfulness City. And when this was being announced by His Majesty to the nation during a celebration of National Day, I remember actually, it just struck me that he also said that this project which we are embarking on is not just for the next 5 years, it is for the next 500 years. So this is what he exactly, so it resonated so well actually when David Dons was talking about his 5-year planning, 500-year planning, we are also doing this. And this basically boils down to regenerative actually. So we are talking about such a long-term future, yeah?
So that would also be a success factor, actually, to have a long-term thing. And just very quickly, politics problem in Africa. And then I want you pretty much to focus on success stories and success strategies, you know, ideas that the audience might be able to take home as well. Are there any countries that actually, you know, have overcome these challenges?
Well, I don't think it's, I think there's political problems in every country in the world, so it's not unique to Africa. The challenge is just that when it comes to Africa, the microscope is even honed in too tightly. But this challenge happens everywhere. Everywhere where there's a democracy, there are political challenges. But I think the bigger challenges that we face as a continent are the challenge of priorities. Because we're trying to put food on the table, roofs over people's heads. And then when you bring in the issues about sustainability, that becomes another challenge. So it is really where you put the focus. And of course, the other problem is another problem that I don't want to say that we don't cause these things, but the problem of debt. We are highly leveraged as a continent, so whether it's the debt to the west or the debt to the east. So those challenges make it difficult really to focus on quote unquote what looks like a nice to have as from a sustainability issues. But I think if you look at countries like South Africa, for example, they've got a sustainability development, tourism sustainability framework, and other countries are like Rwanda. So having said what I've said, there are those opportunities in the countries. And when you look as well at a country again like South Africa, that you can also understand that it is not always about looking to government to solve some of these problems, to tell a soft power from a country or to leverage soft power. If you look at a gift of the givers, which is a completely private sector initiative wherever, and they were in Turkey as well, helping, if you remember, helping with the challenges during the earthquake and all those, and everywhere else in the world. So that in many ways shows as well that private citizens can also help create a soft power for a country. And it is not always about just focusing on the country. But there is, I mean, of course, the beauty about the continent is we also have practicalities on how to deal with challenges of sustainability and over-tourism. For example, when I went to climb Kilimanjaro, they told me it's just a little stroll in the park. And I literally took it. I thought it would be a stroll in the park for 5 days. But what they didn't tell me is that it's a stroll for the first 3 days, and the last day looks like this.
Yeah.
And when I stopped, the guy said, "You said it's a stroll in the park," and he said, "Yes, that's to get you into the mountain. But we know not everybody can climb that mountain that high. And you go to a country like South Africa, and you know when you want to go experience the great white shark, that if you are an irresponsible tourist, the sharks will deal with the sustainability issues on your behalf. So and if you go to Rwanda and want to climb, you want to go discover Rwanda or Uganda and Congo, you want to discover the great the silverback gorillas. You know, like most of us want to get back to our former selves. If you go into those mountains and you are irresponsible, they will quickly remind you who is the king who's in charge of the universe. So to me, the challenges of the continent are a priority challenge. In terms of where to focus your challenges. I don't think politics is a problem, because if anybody says politics are a problem in Africa, I can point them right now to the United Kingdom. I can point them right now to the United States. Anywhere. I can point them right now to China and everywhere else in the world. I think it's just a narrative from a continent that we need to manage our story better and not delegate or relegate our story to anybody else.
David, let's stay with the sunny side of countries and move, because I know especially Turkey and Bhutan, you both have brought as well videos showing some of the initiatives that can inspire us towards sustainable development of tourism or even regenerative development. So maybe you would like to start and inspire us with, the positive.
Sure.
But shortly, because we are...
Oh, yeah. Our video was already circling around the workshops. I can show you if the time gives us an opportunity. So we are talking about sustainability and regeneration, and I'll offer another term, brand new term, sustainable tourist. So beyond to be a tourist, we have many people in the last couple of years who wants to live permanently in Turkey after they have had an experience as a tourist from Italy, from Welsh couple from Greece, from Germany. Why? Because the post-COVID actually term let people to enjoy the efficiency of a healthcare system and also vaccination and all other stuff. So besides the regenerative nature of Turkey, to live there and the Aegean coast, Mediterranean coast, people want to live as a tourist, but also to accessible healthcare. They look for an accessible healthcare system. So they ended up to live in Turkey, 6 months in Turkey, and 6 months maybe their mother country.
Do you know if there were tourist visitors before they made this decision?
Yes.
So this is very interesting. Tourism always has this effect, right? That it brings people closer to a country, and then often they come back talent attraction. They come back as talent, or they just have the familiarity.
Familiarity, and there are also another effects, as Tibe told already. So there are givers and takers in this world.
Yeah.
It depends on whether you are a giver or just always taker. So not just in Africa, and all around Europe, we had observed that after COVID-19, the limitations on the resources and healthcare system and services. So that's why to being there for the people, not for the domestic population, but for the whole world humanity, if they need a vaccination. So one day they become your residents beyond being a tourist. So we have a very successful program, Global Sustainable Tourism Program, Zero Waste Movement, pioneered by our First Lady. So this is another crucial issue. It should be led by and supported by the higher political figures in every country. So we are very lucky in our country. And also we change another barrier, climate change. We change our ministry's name to the Minister of Environment and Urbanization and Climate Change. And also we run a lot of solar energy programs, and because of that, $400 million worth of natural gas we saved. So largest solar park in Europe. So besides your tourism, besides Turkey is one of the most attractive and very popular tourism destination, we add many things to save more for us and for the whole global.
Noor, I have the feeling we need a whole session for Turkey. There's so much going on.
Sure,
This is such a huge destination.
I can finish here. So
I also saw the books that you had yesterday on display about sustainable development Turkey.
Yeah. One last thing maybe at this portion of the question. It is not important just to be a Cappadocia, not to be a Mediterranean coast of sunny side of tourism. If you put the Cappadocia, the ancient techniques to keep their food supplies fresh throughout the year in a nature refrigeration in the caves, there are hotels as well. So, or in other words, the thermal hotels in Turkey, wellness spa tourism also very popular. But they save also heat, natural gas. So that adds your GDP gap and also the world resources.
It's all linked, right?
Yes, all linked, interconnected and harmony.
Dorothy,
Yes.
I think it has to be one inspiring example.
Yes, so one inspiring I would like to share is that now Bhutan is going beyond happiness. We are saying you can be happy, but let's be mindfully happy. So therefore, just about 2 months back, Bhutan has actually launched a big, unprecedented project, which is being labeled as one of its first of its kind in the world, and it is titled as a Gelughu Mindfulness City. Gelughu is the name of a place, a special administrative region, and 1,000 square kilometers of area in the southern part of the country has been identified. It's going to be a mindfulness city, is being going to be developed, and the key different point about this city is going to be, basically this city is going to have the world's top talent, whatever field it may be, for example, including the universities. You talk about health services, you talk about, any product. So that will be all housed, located in that city. And the main difference is that this city, we are trying to, show to the world that there is a different way of living more sustainability. This is going to be an example wherein you can pursue prosperity with, not compromising the other, softer elements like the sustainability, the regenerative. So these are all going to be there, and the key point will be it will be based on spiritualism. The Vajrayana Buddhism is going to play a major role in there. It's going to be a mindfulness, well-being, values, sustainability, growth, innovation, so all put together. We will have a history, we will have a culture, at the same time it will be a future. So therefore, I like to take this opportunity and requesting everyone here, you can, we already have a website, it's very simple, mcc.bt is there, and all the informations are there, and we are actually at this point in time inviting, welcoming any interested, like-minded individuals or organizations in the world to come and join us, and together we would like to co-create this Gelughu Mindfulness City. And with your request, I have a 1-minute video on this city, actually. But the longer one, actually, it is already online actually. So I'd like to.
I think, can we skip the video because
it's just one. No.
You know, we have 5 minutes left.
Okay.
There will be. I think you impressed us all with the mindful city idea.
I love it.
I love it as well. And we should do the next Soft Power Summit.
Sure.
We should.
Mindful tourism.
And mindful tourism.
I love it.
But I have another 2 questions on my list, but I really want to use the last 4.5 minutes for the audience. If anyone has a question to this really fascinating panel, I think maybe we can, there's, microphone is coming.
Hello, Arif Zaman from Bloomsbury Institute in London. I just wanted to ask Tebe, the governments love talking in Africa about the diaspora. And I think, sometimes it's empty words, sometimes there's real power to it. But I want to ask you about, in relation to this discussion here, what is the potential and power of the diaspora in the context of 2 specific things, which I'll summarize in 30 seconds. One is a changing set of economic policies 30, 40, 50 years after independence. We're seeing second waves of economic policies. There's the African Continental Free Trade Area, etc. And also, as you know, there is a changing demographic of the diaspora, whether it's in Europe, North America, or elsewhere. The combination of those 2 things, are they significant in relation to tourism, and how can policymakers leverage that more?
Excellent question. I think from a diaspora, we've seen how many countries, even a country that people may underestimate like Somalia, which gets a lot of their money from the diaspora, who are contributing back to the country. But I think the example of Ghana as well, with the 400 years of return, getting people to come back to Ghana, is an example of an acknowledgement of the importance of the diaspora in helping to change the narrative about the country or about the continent. Of course, if you look at the continent, which is 70% under the age of 30, it's a very youthful continent. And we know what they have done. The young people, unlike the old people are waiting for government to change the world for them. The young people are changing the countries on them. And that's why if you look in terms of culture, if you look at it from a music perspective, whether it's Black Coffee from South Africa, whether it's Tyler now who just won a Grammy, whether you go from Nigeria to everywhere else, the power that the young people have realized in culture, music, art, understanding that those areas are quite fundamental, are quite critical in helping them to give them a voice in the world. But in doing that, they tell the story. I think it's Fela Kuti who once said, they asked him, why are all your children named, given Yoruba names? He says, I want my children, doesn't matter where they go in the world, so that when they do great in the world and somebody names them by name, that honor comes back to the continent. Our continent is coming back, and you can see with the power of initiatives such as BRICS, the power of initiatives such as Africa Free Trade Continental Area, and you see that we're in less, we don't suffer from challenges of over tourism. So if you look at the combination of those, you understand why many of us say the rest of the world may have a past, but Africa has a future.
Excellent. I really like it. And I think, there's only time for one more question, and I see there's one over here.
Thank you so much for the organizers. I have one question. I support my brother who had asked about diaspora, because I'm also a diaspora, and usually the contribution of African diaspora is completely ignored by the World Bank and all this. And I think it's very important that we bring this in when branding Africa. The other thing is, I arrived in this country when I was young. I came to study, but I have never been able to go because of the war. And since I arrived in this country, all I know about my country and my region is war, war, war. And the impact, the adverse impact of war in Africa has never been considered in respect of how it impacts not only tourism, sustainability, and all this. Like my country, when it became, I'm from Eritrea, when it became independent, in 10 years of its independence, it had achieved more than the other African countries.
Sorry,
that had
I
been
must interrupt
50
you now.
years independent.
Do you actually have a question to the panel?
You know, because of the war, the economy, everything, it hasn't been able to progress when it could be rebranded for tourism, for sustainability and all this. And up to now, we are still facing war. So could you comment on the war? And right now we have war in Rwanda and DRC and some other places that we are not being told by the Western media.
So
Just 1 second, so I'll just answer it in 1 second. There's war in Ukraine, there's war in Israel, there's war in Palestine, there's war everywhere else. War has always been a feature of geopolitics and of the world, how the world functions. The secret is for us not to focus on the war and to ask ourselves the question, what can we do for the continent, rather than ask what the continent can do for us, and to take the power away from the politics and give the power to the people.
That's
excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And time is actually almost over, and there is a coffee break waiting for you before the first ladies come on stage. So let me just say, you know, in times where hard power dominates so much, let's do everything we can to focus on the sunny side of countries through soft power, through regenerative tourism. And thank you so much for this discussion on stage here today. Dorji Nur Tebe. It's been a pleasure. We would have needed twice the time, I think, to really cover everything, but maybe next year there's another opportunity. Thank you.